I can see the summit. We're almost there. Red, we've nearly made it. We're just a few steps away from the greatest jewel humanity has ever seen here on the slopes of Fireball Island.
But isn't this dangerous? I mean, what about the fireballs? Don't I have to worry about the fireballs?
We are well-trained explorers. There's nothing for us to fear here with our reflexes and skill and knowledge and... Oh! Red! No!
Oh, hey! It's time for Game Relics! Fireball Island! Let's get started.
Since the last episode, I've been adding more and more detail to the board and going through it to make sure that it still plays correctly. One thing that I noticed while checking to make sure that the player characters would fit on every one of the little pathways that we carved is there's this annoying little shortcut that I inadvertently added to the game when I put this collapsed section of volcano onto the board. I could just see a guy just walking right through there and getting to the jewel quickly and easily. So I wanted to do something about this space, and that something is adding more lava. I figure I could expand the lava pool to not only be inside of the caldera, but kind of work its way outside too. And that would, discourage these guys from taking a quick and easy shortcut. After using the drill to hog out the main shape that I had in mind, I cleaned things up with nippers and then a file, and then it was all back to the rotary tool, removing all of the epoxy clay that we didn't need, and of course being very safety conscious, sucking up all of the dust with the vacuum cleaner. Once it was all out, I had to rebuild the form and rebuild the new future lake of lava. I used more of the freeform air putty, and I used a little wooden stick to make sure that the level would match the inner caldera lake of lava as well.
Okay, I think that Project Crater expansion was a success. I'm really excited about the new forms that are taking shape. The Khazad-dûm bridge now ends in this one point that's going to be in the center of the lava field. And then we have the whole expansion of the lava field that will kind of bleed out onto the first pathway of the game. I think overall it's just going to look a lot more awesome. And I can't wait to start playing with the lava effects. I'm going to do some layered acrylic, and I'll have it cooling around the edges and around the base of this pillar. It's going to be cool. I'm getting jazzed about this. Yeah, and the epoxy is setting up fine. So once this is set, I'll go back in, sand it, I'll use the rotary tool, get a lot of more detail in there. And we are getting so close to paint, Ah!
All right, it's the next day. It's Sunday. I have a little bit of time, maybe 45 minutes-ish that I can squeeze in on the island. So I am going to flip things over and put a different bit into the rotary tool and carve some nice stone detail here onto the inside of the new caldera. And then we'll do some sanding, and maybe we'll have time to get some primer on today. My inspiration for the look of the lava walls of this inner caldera lake of lava are the lava tubes that we used to hike in when I was a kid growing up in Hawaii. The lava tubes had this really neat inner surface where the lava levels, as they would rise and fall inside of these tubes, would leave kind of stone lap lines on the insides of the chambers, and it was super cool. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. Once I carved in the detail that I liked, it was back to sanding. And let me tell you, this has been the story of my life on this board for the past month or so, is just pass after pass of putting in some detail, sanding, putting in more detail, sanding. It's a lot of sanding. The good news is you only have to watch me sand this board down one time. I spared you from watching the other zillions of hours I put into sanding. Of course, after you change something on the board, you've got to test it. I kind of mucked around with that pathway, so let's see if it still works. And yes, it looks good.
Whew. Alrighty, you know what? Is it perfect? No. As they often say, perfection is the enemy of ever getting something done. I don't know the exact phrasing, but yes, there are little bits where I can still see a little bit of the cardboard armature underneath, but I have gone through so many cycles of patching, sanding, priming, sanding, patching, that I think this thing is looking pretty darn good. So I think I'm going to put a tentatively final coat of primer on here and then start working on buying paint for the final paint and getting the lava bed up and running. because I really want to play this game. Ta-da! Primed and glorious and ready for the next step. Now, I know I was talking about paint, but I think that the next step I want to tackle is this lake of lava. I want to dive in deep into this lava lake. Well, not actually, but yeah, I want to metaphorically dive in deep and figure that out before I tackle paint. So, first things first, we have this weird odd shape, and I want to design some custom acrylic to put in there. So I need to use my little odd-shaped footprint trick.
To make this work, we need some graph paper with a 1-inch grid on it.
Okay, so I've done a rough measurement, and I know the opening is around 8 inches by 4 inches. I can fit that size of a rectangle in there. So I prepared a rectangle of foam core with the graph paper stuck to the top of it, and that's what I'm going to trace my template on.
I use this trick all the time in the studio, mainly for designing the text on the bottom of the tiki mugs that I make. They always have weird shapes, and so this lets me scribe the shape of the mug and get it into the computer to accurately lay out the text.
Okay. Ha ha ha. There you have it, a rough guideline of where the lava flow will be. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to photograph it with my iPhone, which is what is filming this right now, so I can't film me doing it, which is weird. Anyway, I'm going to take a photo of this, and using this grid, I can then scale this exactly in Adobe Illustrator and design my cut lines for the acrylic templates, in theory.
Okay, we are firing up Adobe Illustrator and getting this thing into the digital realm. So you can see I've taken this photograph and I have scaled it up to match a 1-inch grid in Adobe Illustrator, and there is the exact outline of the lake of lava. Now it's time to draw some lava. I did a quick sketch of my plan of a large pool and a small side pool with kind of 3 bubbly spots. And I'm doing this all freehand in Illustrator. I use a Wacom tablet, Wacom, I never know how to pronounce it. And I draw on that while looking up ahead on the screen. It sounds tricky, but you'd be surprised how quickly you can get used to drawing on a table while looking straight ahead if you practice.
Okay, I have printed out my tentative lava field plan, and I just printed it out to see if my scale was correct. So I want to test the scale before I start building the light box I have planned and actually cutting any acrylic for this. So let's see if we did it right. I'm kind of rushing because it's the end of the day and I'm dying to see how this looks. That's pretty good.
Okay, at this point, I want to say these colors are temporary. I'm going to be recycling some leftover acrylic that we have from the Library of Libations, so don't get too attached to the colors that you're seeing here on this model.
Okay, so we know the scale is perfect, and I like the design. I like the bright center pools of lava that I've got going, and the colors are cool. Now, it's going to shift when I go to acrylic. I can't have these 2 colors on one layer like this. It's going to have to be like one layer on top of another. So I think I'm going to have yellow up top with this orange or red underneath with the cutouts. That's the plan. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along like we've been doing for this whole project. Anyway, I'm going to design the box and we'll cut some acrylic and I will find some flickering LEDs. Okie dokie, let me get you up to speed. I have taken out, wait for it, my Mad Scientist Fun box. This is the box filled with all of the LEDs and electronic doodads that I occasionally wrestle with until I get super frustrated and I just put them back into the box because I suck at electronics. It's just something I have a really hard time wrapping my brain around. I feel especially embarrassed about this in a way or sensitive because my dad is an electrical engineer. Oh, Dad, if you're watching, I suspect you will watch this eventually. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. And look, I got out the breadboard. I was going to just go to Amazon and buy like some little battery powered strip light thing for the inside of the volcano, but I just felt that was cheating and that I should
force myself to learn new things and try new things. So I've got the breadboard here, and I am trying to choose between two different types of LEDs. This is type 1. Wait for it. Oh, it looks red, but wait, they change. And the cool thing is there's a little like processor on each one of these RGB LEDs, and they're gonna slowly drift out of sync as they go through their program, which I think would be kind of cool. I can put 10 of them, I think. 10 is maybe the limit that I can drive off of one battery pack. I'm gonna do a test and see how long I can let it run before they fade out. Okay, so this is option 1. And the great thing about it is it runs off of a little 3-volt power supply, which I've got with 2 AAA batteries. I might jump up to AA batteries. We'll see how long this runs. They are wired currently in parallel. Oh my God, if you go online and look at what is best for wiring LEDs, running in parallel or doing it in series, you will get nightmare stories either way. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Anyways, it's a little bit of my understanding, but this seems to be working great, and I'm not dealing with a lot of power going through, so I'm not worried about burning these things out. This is option 1. Option 2 is a little more lava-like. Let's take a look. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've got 14 of these things on here, and these all have a little microprocessor on there that makes them each flicker like a little candle flame. And because of that, you cannot wire these in series. They have to be wired in parallel. Let's all cross our fingers. Oh, okay, so upside of this, it's a lot more lava-like, maybe a little less magical, but it's pretty cool, and they're bright and red, and I'm running 14 of them right now, which is enough for the lava pit and to have one of these under each fireball, which I think will be pretty awesome. Okay, we're gonna go with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just leave this connected. I'm gonna bring it inside, and we're gonna time how long these will burn, and we'll see if any of them burn out or go into this thermal runaway nightmare scenario that I've been reading about online. Let's find out what happens. It's science! Believe it or not, those 2 AAA batteries kept these lights burning for a full 24 hours. So we're going to bump up to AA batteries and start making a box. And here we are, cutting it out of lasers. Now, we built the box portion of the box out of some leftover bamboo veneer that we had. It is a super pretty material that we're not even going to see because it's going to be hidden under a mountain, but it's sturdy and strong, and this thing fit together really well. Next up, we cut the acrylic, and before I cut it, I'm actually engraving some extra detail onto the surface sheet of acrylic. Engraving means it's vaporizing a little bit of acrylic out with the laser and adding a texture to the surface. In this case, it's like this watery, lava, bubbly texture. Once it's done engraving, the laser switches over to cutting, and it will cut out the shape of this piece of acrylic to match perfectly with the box that we showed earlier. Alrighty, so we've got the box, we've got the layers of acrylic for the lava. It's time to stick it all together. Now, I don't know if these colors are the colors that we're gonna use. They look pretty cool, but I haven't wired it up. Maybe I won't like it. I think I'll like it, but I don't know. And maybe in the long run, I want to change the way the lava effect works. I wanna make this thing temporary is kind of what I'm getting at. So I'm actually gonna hold it in with these super strong rare earth magnets. I've got 4 on the bottom, and these 4 on the top, I'm going to epoxy in to the bottom of the game right now so that this will be held in place by magnets. That's the plan. And I covered it with the saran wrap so that the epoxy that I pack around this won't stick to the actual layer of acrylic. At least that's a plan. Let's hope it works. So again, I'm using our trusted friend, the Freeform Air Epoxy Putty, and you'll see really quick, I'm going to grab a metal tool and try to sculpt it in there and realize using a metal tool around rare earth magnets isn't a good idea, so I switched to a tongue depressor to pack that epoxy in around the magnets. Once the epoxy putty had set, it was time for me to actually glue the magnets down to the acrylic. And for this, I just used normal 5-minute epoxy, putting a little dab under each magnet and setting the magnet back into place. All right, it is time to start wiring up some LEDs. I begin by using this fancy-dancy little wire trick I learned years ago back in my special effects days. It's a great trick for wrangling wire, and it keeps things from getting tangled and messy. I made 5 LED runners using this bundled wire, 4 for the 4 fireballs on the game board, and 1 for the actual jewel itself. I made sure to test each one of these before I glued it into the board just to make sure the LED was still good using a tiny little 3-volt battery. With those out of the way, it was time to put all of the LEDs into the box for the Lake of Lava, and I put all of the positive leads on the top and negatives on the bottom to hopefully make things easier. Okay, so I've got this forest of LED elements sticking up out of this board, and I've got to now get them all connected. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And I'm wiring these in parallel. I'm not even going to bother trying to explain that because I barely understand it. Google it. There's lots of people that do YouTube videos explaining this way better than I ever will. But yes, that's the goal. So I have all the positive LEDs on the top and all the negative prongs on the bottom. And now I'm just going to connect all the positives to each other and all the negatives to each other. So the power will go in and just through the tops and through the bottom. That's the goal. Let's see if I can do this. And we're off. It is the soldering adventure of a lifetime in which I really triple checked that I was only soldering the positive LED parts together and leaving all the negatives sticking up. I mean, like I was just triple checking because you only get one shot at this. I didn't have any extra LEDs, so I was very careful. Okay. I have got all of the positives connected as one circuit. I hope. Let's all just hope. If you are a wiring professional, apologies for the atrocity in soldering that you have just seen. If you're new to soldering, yeah, I'm pretty good. At least I like to tell myself that. No, actually, I'm not good at it, but I am proud of what I got going on so far. Now, I've got to now connect all the negatives together. This being electricity, the negatives cannot touch the positives. So I got to figure out how to do that. I may lay down like a layer of tape, like electrical tape on this, and then do all of the positives, all the negatives over that so that they do not touch. I'm gonna have to ponder this. This is, by the way, one of the things that I've been putting off because it's intimidating. This is all new stuff I've got to learn, and it can be intimidating to learn new things, as you all know. But I'm happy with what's happening so far, and as always, things that I procrastinate and put off whenever I end up finally doing them, it's, no big deal. I'm saying this now. When I try to connect a battery to this, it's probably not going to light up. Anyway, all right, let's do the negatives. While not being negative about the negatives, huh? In the end, I did end up using electrical tape just in 2 little areas where I was unable to avoid overlapping the negative LED terminals over the positive ones that we had already soldered. But that's all we needed, just those 2 little bits, and the rest looked like it was all safe and good to go. At least that's what it looked like. Okay, got some batteries here, got the battery pack. I just wired these leads to the actual array. Oh my God, now we find out if I did it. This has an on and off switch, so I don't know if it's on or off right now. I'm so nervous. Oh, this is very bad, folks. Very, very bad. Oh. All right, something's up. Something is up. Oh, I think I see it. This negative needs to jump to here. There's no jump across. We're gonna be okay. That's gotta be it. Need a little wire. Oh, that did it. Oh, okay. We're gonna be able to fix it. Woo. So, as you may have deduced in that little near meltdown, I had forgotten to bridge the negative terminals on the left side of the pool of lava to the negative terminals on the right side of the pool of lava, and that bridge was easily created using just little piece of scrap LED wiring, and I think that we might be good to go now.
Okay. Come on. Come on. Fireball! Oh, haha. I feel so relieved. I feel proud. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I feel relieved. I feel proud. Yeah.
With the wiring working correctly, I wanted to make 2 more final steps before putting the islands together. And the first is I sealed all of the soldering that we just did with some hot glue. This really kind of locks it all down to the board, keeps things from touching each other, and it provides stress relief in case you kind of yank on the cord that's attached to the lake of lava. I don't want anything to fall apart or short out. Secondly, I wanted to up the reflectivity of this lava lake and add a little bit more pizzazz, and I'm going to do that with a roll of aluminum foil. My hope is that this extra crafty solution will add a little bit more sparkle and reflectivity to the inside of this light box and give, just these LEDs just a little bit more oomph. So here you have it, the completed Lake of Lava light box, all bundled up and ready to go. And the best part about it is the magnets make it super easy to, wait for it, click, lock into place, and it should be really easy to remove if I ever want to change things. With the lava lake anchored in place with the magnets, it was time to now wire all of the individual fireball LED lights as well as the special LED I'm putting in to light up the jewel while it's in gameplay. I'm still not sure where I'm going to be hiding the batteries on the board and where I'm going to be ending up putting the on and off switches for the lights, so I am just going to connect a temporary battery pack and light switch for both of the lighting setups. Alrighty, I've got everything wired up. I've got the temporary control switches hooked up. Let's see if this thing works. First up, we have got the jewel. Boo, hey! Now, this jewel does change color. I use that slowly fading RGB LED on this one. Now, since the jewel itself is dyed red, only the red color comes through. Like right now, it's blue, can't really tell. But I still think it looks awesome, and it's got a nice different vibe than the lava! Ho ho! Look at that lava! So stoked with it. And I love the way that the fireballs look too. Now these are temporary marbles that I got here. I don't have any translucent red marbles. I'm going to order some, so there'll be some more on all of the different spots. But I couldn't be happier with the overall lava effect, the way that it lights up this whole inner chamber and the bottom lighting on the bridge of doom. So fantastic. Each little cinder cone looks great. I could not be happier. Yeah. So where does this leave us? Well, that means it is time to actually get to the end of this project, and that's going to involve paint and some sort of box to put this thing in when we're not playing it. And my hope is I can tackle both of those in the next and possibly final episode of Game Relics Fireball Island. Thank you so much for your patience in waiting for this episode, for watching it. I hope you've clicked subscribe, and I can't wait to see you at the next episode.